If you've watched more than one video on my channel, you might realize that I love messing around with food. Just the way that some channels might like messing around with different types of gear, I like to experiment with different type of ingredients. Probably because it's easier for me to spend $1.65 on a different type of dried banana than it is to spend $300 on some special quilt. So, if you go back to my channel, there's all sorts of different experimental things I've done, from meals to chia puddings to powdered meals to everything like that. My passion is making things simple and making things nutritious. And sometimes I do make them so simple that it's just either gross tasting or it just doesn't work when you're actually out backpacking. I'm excited to share this recipe with you because I think I might have nailed it. I was thinking, what if I did not cold soak anything? So I brought no food that required cold soaking, but just food that could be eaten straight. How could I make a bar that had all the nutrients that you can possibly need for the day? All the electrolytes you'd need for the day, all the protein, all the calories, all the carbohydrates for the day in just a bar. And could I make a bar that I would actually want to eat all day? So that's what you're about to see. And again, I'm going to have the ingredients in the description below. You're more than welcome to skip the video, just look at the description and the ingredients if you're inclined. Otherwise, I will talk a little bit about them, and I want to start talking about a test I did with this. So I originally made this recipe. It was okay. I was tweaking the nutrition, tweaking the taste. I was just eating it at my work. And then I made another batch and tweaked it a little bit, ate it at work. And then I made a batch that I thought nailed the taste. And so I decided to give it a test. And I ended up not doing a backpacking trip. I ended up not being able to go overnight, but I did a 20-miler last Saturday. And a couple of things to keep in mind. So 20 miles, obviously a lot of miles. I do not have backpacker legs. As a weekend warrior, a couple of times a month in some smaller day hikes, I am not set up to do 20 miles. So my body will hit exhaustion after 20 miles. Also keep in mind, I live in Connecticut, so while it's very hilly and very ups and downs, there are some, not flat sections, but just hilly sections. And the other thing about the day is that it was crazy, for around here, it was wicked hot and a lot of humidity. That type where the salt is, you can just taste the salts just coming out of your perspiration and coming out all over. So the other thing about this bar, and I think anything that you're making for backpacking, is I think it's hard to make something and test it at home. A lot of the meals that I've made for backpacking, I don't really like them that much at home, but on the trail, they really hit what my body needs, and so they taste delicious. And I found that true with this bar. This bar is pretty good to just eat at home, but on the trail, it was perfect. The one thing I will say is that I did find out, now, I don't know your size, your shape, your speed. I did the 20 miles in 8 hours, so it's, what is that, 2.5 miles per hour or so of pace. I did it with no breaks, so it was straight through. I was really trying to test out if this could keep fueling my body. And also the next morning when I woke up, there was no muscle soreness whatsoever, which blew my mind. I thought I would definitely be sore. I would definitely, the one thing I missed from the last time is needing more salt, and I'll talk about that here. And just so I don't forget, the one thing that I did bring as part of my calories is a bag of dried bananas, and that did help break up just eating bars. These are like chewy, leathery, and so I did eat a package of bananas. And also this is, let me just get the numbers so I don't screw up. What you're about to see is 3,800 calories, 83 grams of protein, 460 carbs, and 123 grams of fat. I can tell you that this kept me going and kept me feeling full, and if I was going to stay overnight, this would have taken me through to supper. But I think I ended the trip with 1 bar left, which would have been like my supper, and I definitely would have needed something after that. So I think now, like a lot of people, you just kind of throw food into a bag when you're actually taking trips. I think now if I'm taking a trip and I'm looking at calories, I think I need to surpass that 4,000 calorie mark each time, because on that particular trip, I definitely needed it. Although, let's face it, it's not often that I'm hiking in 90-something degrees incredible humidity and something else I'm missing. Oh, and 20 miles. You know, it's not often that I'm going 20 miles at a time. All right, so here is what goes into this, and I'll do the easy things first. So these are, I'm going to look at my phone and make sure you can see this. So those are figs. These are the figs without any of the sulfate added. If you go to a store like, say, like a Walmart or whatever, you're going to see something called mission figs. They're much softer outside, and those are the ones with sulfur. The one thing I do with the figs is a lot of these, I mean, I don't know if you probably can't see that in the camera, but there is a hard little like stem sort of thing that sometimes is on the figs, so I do pick that off before I put them in. I have got 8 ounces of dates and 4 ounces of apricots. And again, if you can't find dates like this, if you go to your Walmart or whatever, they have like the bags of dates. Those are usually 4 ounces of dates. They are usually chopped, and so they are drier. So that's dates and apricots. If we come over to here, this is a hard one because if I tilt it, it will spill. How's that? There are peanuts, sesame seeds, hemp seeds, sunflower seeds, and walnuts. And if you really have a keen eye, you can probably realize those are not walnuts. I'm faking it with pecans. In my original recipe with the nutrition that I did it for walnuts, but I ran out. So the original 3 tests I did, I had walnuts in it. And again, I'm not going to go through measurements. If you want measurements, you can look at the description. On this plate here are some strange things. And what you see is some sea salt. You see some nutritional yeast, chia seeds, oh my gosh, I forgot the pronunciation. Baobab powder, it's from a fruit in Africa. This is goji berry powder, and these are, and again, the pronunciation, I'm sorry, it's cacao nibs. I know those are some weird things, and I think what I'm going to do, and I don't know if the video will show up before this one eventually or after this one, I'm going to try to go through some of the weirder ingredients that I bring on a trip that you might not be familiar with, and you know, some people might call them supplements, but I'll go through why the heck those sort of things are in there. So I do leave out the bananas, I eat them separate. So if you throw everything into the food processor, just want to show you how fast this is. The first thing I do is I just do the fruit. Don't do this at home. My food processor happens to have a bad blade. All right, looks good. Throw in this next. These. Test. All right. One thing I will say is that these tasted so much better. I made them on like a Wednesday and ate them on a Saturday. They tasted so much better a couple of days later. So just to show you the consistency. Get this in the camera. And what I normally do, so I kind of take a piece of parchment paper, and that's what I use to roll it up. And I'm not going to take you all the way through the process, but I do roll it up. And again, I'm not going to keep going, but basically, see that's coming through. Basically, I form a log, and then I cut it into blocks for the individual bars. And you can see without even much squeezing so far, you know, it's basically that consistency. And again, I want to stress, if you let it sit for a while, it tastes so much better. I also rushed because I want to get this done before my GoPro goes to another clip. I would have probably have let that blended for another 5 minutes or so. As I can see, the nuts are still pretty big. So that's the whole recipe. Check out the description if you want the details. Thank you.